A stunning development tonight as we uncover the truth behind Biden's desperate pardon plot. We're not just talking about Hunter Biden anymore. Sources indicate the White House is preparing blanket pardons for an entire roster of deep state operatives. Fauci, Milley, Schiff, Cheney. The list reads like a who's who of Trump's targets. But here's what's really interesting. Even Adam Schiff is criticizing these pardons. Why? Because reportedly he didn't make the cut. And wait until you hear what Michael Byrd is threatening to reveal if he doesn't get his pardon. The implications are staggering. Speaking of protecting yourself from threats, there's something the deep state doesn't want you to know. Malware attacks have skyrocketed 643% since 2020, with millions of devices compromised. While Biden hands out pardons, who's protecting your digital security? That's why I trust VirtualShield Antivirus Pro. Their real-time protection blocks threats before they reach your device, just like we're exposing these pardon schemes before they happen. Get up to 75% off on their continuing Black Friday special at virtualshield.com/nextnews. Plus, try it risk-free for 7 days. Don't let your data fall into the wrong hands. Secure it now at virtualshield.com/nextnews. Okay, so we're continuing to track all this talk about the pardons that Politico recently broke. And it's making its way through the news cycle. CNN, we have a clip here from CNN. Even Karine Jean-Pierre was questioned about it. We're going to get her response. Even Adam Schiff getting confronted in Congress. We're going to get his reaction. And we've even got, the guy who killed Ashli Babbitt. We're going to talk about what he's threatening. But let's look at this first. This is a former Obama advisor saying it's smart. It's smart for Biden to pardon Liz Cheney and Dr. Fauci because the founders didn't intend a twice impeached 34 felony convicted guy to win back the White House. Wow. Listen to this.
Of that. I think actually on the opposite of that. I think that it is actually smart when you have somebody not only in Trump, but in a lot of his acolytes who also hold elected office, who are dead set on carrying out his retribution tour, be it whether it's with Liz Cheney, Dr. Fauci, any and everybody. I think that it's smart. It offers a certain level of protection, but it also helps as a stalwart, because I hear what you're saying about, what the founders intended. The founders also didn't intend a twice impeached 34 felony convicted guy to pop up and run for president and win multiple times. I think that at this point, when you have someone who is operating with immunity, because quite frankly, the Supreme Court gave him that in all aspects, and does not match up to any of the presidents that we formerly had, or any, I think, of the principles of American democracy. You have to have safeguards, and one of the safeguards against a lot of the attacks that the incoming administration and a lot of those who align with it against those that they see as enemies is actually issuing those preemptive pardons.
I do got to say, though, her hair extensions look great. But we've got this, too. This was Chris Cuomo. We posted this to our X account. If you're not following us on X, you need to. Chris Cuomo issuing a warning that Biden's pardon just handed Trump a baseball bat to pummel the Democrats. It's so ironic, first of all, that I'm even playing Chris Cuomo clips. After that pandemic and the stuff he pulled with his brother and all the garbage this guy spewed on CNN, it is really wild to see him actually coming into a center, some kind of a centrist position. Now, I can't say I can trust it entirely, but he's getting paid by News Nation now. So I guess, he'll say whatever the networks tell him to say, as long as the check's clear, right? Let's listen in.
How dare it took exactly 1 day for Trump and the Funky Bunch to seize on the gift that Biden just gave him. Democrats are saying, oh, I can't support Biden's decision. This is about principle. Look, everyone gets protecting family except the cancel crazy people. But this isn't about that. This is about how Biden justified that.
Protecting family. Coming from the guy who he got fired from CNN because he was protecting his brother. Oh, man, how rich. Let's roll that back for a second. I'm sorry. I just heard him say it. I'm like, come on, dude. What the heck?
It's about principle. Look, everyone gets protecting family except the cancel crazy people. But this isn't about that. This is about how Biden justified this. I guess I didn't put a fine enough point on it yesterday. So let me say it again. This was a huge admission, what Biden said here. Who knew in the Democrat ranks that Biden was going to say he was pardoning his son, not because it's his son, not because he's got to protect him, but because of political prosecutions and overreach? Who knew? People had to know. People had to know how dangerous this pardon was going to look. And by the way, there may be another coming for his brother, and maybe himself too, who knows? Because clearly what Biden is trying to do is insulate all three of them from funny money probes. That's why you bracket the 10-year period. It's not how that usually works. Usually you'd say, this is my son. This is what he was convicted of. He owns it. He pleaded guilty. That's it. I'm letting him go. He's my son. If you don't like it, I'm on the way out anyway. You would have gotten that. Democrats could say, no one's above the law. Forget it. Nobody believes that. And yet he's blaming his behavior in advance on a corrupt system. Tell me, who does he sound like? And that is the answer to why the Democrats lost. Because he sounds just like the guy who's supposed to be so much worse. And the Democrats, protectors of the institutions, let it happen. You let a sitting president say, the DOJ on my watch was dirty in how it went after my son. How do you let that happen? And in so doing, you have sealed our fate. You have allowed Biden to validate the exact argument. You gave Trump the exact baseball bat that Trump and the funky bunch are going to use to make justified what's about to happen. They are going to beat you to death with the bat you just handed them. They're just going to go after the other side for going after them. This is why you lost. You say Trump is FOS, and then you play the same game. I told you yesterday this would happen. Wow. And it happened today. I didn't think it would happen that fast, but it did. Trump's lawyer. It took exact.
Wow. Wow. Chris Cuomo. And then we got this. Michael Byrd, who shot and killed Ashli Babbitt in cold blood without warning, is threatening to go public unless he's pardoned. I guess that confirms he's guilty of murder. I guess it also confirms there's a J6 bombshell to go public with. Amuse posting this. Disgraced Lieutenant Michael Byrd is demanding a pardon before leaving office. Sources familiar with the White House indicate that Byrd is demanding a full pardon from President Biden to preempt potential charges related to the shooting of Ashli Babbitt. If he doesn't get the threats, he threatens to go public. Well, isn't that interesting? John Jackson posted this. I thought this was interesting. You want your head to explode? Trump was impeached for trying to investigate all the crimes that Joe Biden just pardoned Hunter over. Huh. Now, here is the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, confirming President Biden is reviewing other pardons and commutations.
I'm not going.
Is the president considering blanket pardons for either individuals or groups of people who are fearful of potentially being targeted by the incoming Trump administration?
So look, I'm not going to get ahead of the president, but what I can say is that the president is reviewing other pardons and commutations, and I do want to lay out a little bit of the history
on the table as president goes through.
I'm just not going to. I'm not going to get ahead of the president. Certainly, the president is looking at reviewing next steps, and there will be more to come. I'm just not going to get ahead of the president. I'm not going to get into hypotheticals from here.
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. No, she won't. Former President Barack Obama insinuates that Republicans are responsible for stealing elections and politicizing the U.S. government. Yeah. I bring this up because the theft of 2020, everything that led up after, everything that followed that, all these people are going to now be considered for pardons. Here is Barack Obama claiming Republicans rig elections, weaponize the justice system.
There are going to be times, potentially, when one side tries to stack the deck and lock in a permanent grip on power.
Again, this is absolute projection from Barack Obama here. He's literally like revealing everything the Democrats did.
Either by actively suppressing votes or politicizing the armed forces or using the judiciary, the criminal justice system to go after opponents.
Wow.
And in those circumstances, pluralism does not call for us to just stand back and say, well, I'm not sure. That's okay. In those circumstances, a line has been crossed, and we have to stand firm.
The audacity of this guy. Obama just claimed the Republicans rig elections. Yeah. It was the Republicans who cheated, right? Of course, right. Okay. We've got more. We have more. Biden is reportedly considering issue preemptive pardons for several individuals, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, and top aides, according to CBS News. Here is Breonna Lyman. Preemptive pardons prove nobody is above the law. Shtick was never about justice. It was about justifying lawfare. Breonna Lyman of The Federalist.
Weaponize the justice. I mean, for all of this talk about the preemptive pardons, it proves that the nobody's above the law shtick was never about justice. It was about justifying Democrat-led lawfare. Because like you said, Democrats spent 4 years. They threw Donald Trump's allies in jail. They tried to throw him in jail, and they weaponized the justice system because nobody's above the law. And yet suddenly, Adam Schiff, Liz Cheney, and Anthony Fauci may be above the law because Democrats fear that Donald Trump will do to the justice system what they've already done. And I think the key word here is fear, because that is the word that the propaganda press will use if Joe Biden goes forward with these pardons to justify why Democrats are suddenly abandoning this nobody's above the law principle when most Americans understand they never abided by it. But Democrats now have to cover up why they're changing course, and there's no better way to do that than fear-mongering. Poor Democrats are scared so they can do whatever they want to save themselves. That is what we should watch going forward, is how they cover this.
That's a great point. And Tudor, when we think about the nature of what they've always cared about, we've seen now, a decade of...
I mean, for all...
A decade for Hunter Biden, right? Over a decade for him. Alex Jones says 8 hours ago, I would not be surprised if Biden declares a blanket pardon for all Democrats, past, present, and future. Maybe he will just forgive all of humanity's sins, even showering with, yeah. Everyone's freaking out. Charlie Kirk, Karine Jean-Pierre suggests Biden is seriously considering preemptive pardons for certain White House and Democrat officials. Wall Street Mav, everyone that we want prosecuted, they will pardon. Now confirmed, Biden is going to issue more pardons. Who will they include? Kalshi, we covered this the other day when the story broke about the pardons. Now, the betting markets are showing White House press secretary says she won't talk about pardons, but the odds of Biden's pardons of Fauci are now up 42% that Fauci will get a pardon. Here is Adam Schiff in Congress, looks like the rotunda there, getting confronted regarding the pardons. Adam Schiff criticizes Joe Biden's use of blanket pardons, says they're not a good idea. Translation, Biden denied Schiff's request for a preemptive pardon.
Multiple times.
But can I just ask you about the presidential pardons? Do you think a preemptive pardon for you is warranted?
I've spoken on this before. I don't think the idea of a blanket pardon of some kind is a good idea, and I would recommend against it.
Even for yourself, have you communicated this to the White House?
I've communicated it publicly multiple times.
But can I just ask you about the presidential pardons? Do you think a preemptive pardon for you is warranted?
Do you think it's warranted? In his face, like, if I think I need a pardon, that means I did something wrong. So he runs along, and this guy is a liar to his core. Now, for him to go running through the rotunda there, he's just saying, oh, no. I recommend against it. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea. But in the back of his mind, He's going, man, I hope I get a pardon because I need Biden to save my ass because Trump is going to go after me with guns blazing. I mean, what this poster said here, Paul Zapula says, the way he translates it is that, that Schiff didn't get the pardon. But we don't know yet. We don't know if Schiff got the pardon or not. These are conversations that are still being had. And he wants the pardon. And speaking of liars, this clip is solid gold. Oh, this is solid gold. You know how much I despise The View and how much I despise Joy Behar. They had John Fetterman on, and the Vigilant Fox writes, Joy Behar dies inside as John Fetterman explains that Trump's New York trial was politically motivated. Okay? This is solid gold, man.
Collectively, it is his son, after all, and people do have sympathy for that. But a lot
of course, talking about the pardons for his son, et cetera, et cetera.
It is his son, after all, and people do have sympathy for that. But a lot of people are angry with him about it. What do you say?
Oh, well, I think it's undeniable that the case against Hunter Biden was really politically motivated, but I also think it's true that the trial in New York for Trump that was political as well too. Now it's that, and in both cases, I think a pardon is appropriate, and I really think collectively, America's confidence in these kinds of institutions have been damaged by these kinds of cases, and we cannot allow these kinds of institutions to be weaponized against our political opponents. And it's very clear both trials were politically motivated and weaponized that on the other side.
They'll say that about the J6 people too, though, right? That's what they're going to say on the other side. That is weaponized also.
I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about the New York trial, and now the Democrats on our side there were some that were gleeful, calling it like now he's a convicted felon and those things, and now for our party we were talking.
wait. Okay, all right. I'm gonna roll it back in a second because what he just said there. I mean, that's all they've been saying on The View. That's all they've been celebrating, that Trump is a convicted felon. They keep saying it over and over and over again. And he's saying it on The View to her face. Oh, goodness. Oh, John Fetterman, growing on me, guy.
That is weaponized also.
I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about the New York trial, and now the Democrats on our side there were some that were gleeful, calling it like now he's a convicted felon and those things, and now for our party we were talking about criminal justice, and we are now talking about second chances, and now all of a sudden now you're like, well, he's a convicted felon and all these things. And now clearly, again, both of those trials, the Hunter Biden one and the trial in New York for Trump, that was politically motivated, and those kinds of charges would have never been brought unless one side could realize that they could weaponize that.
Senator, many of Trump's...
It is his son.
Okay. Dude, Fetterman just red-pilled the entire View audience. Thank you for that. And he just exposed Joy Behar and all of her toxic rhetoric to her face on her own show. Oh, it's getting good, guys. It's getting good. Trump's not even in office, and things are already starting to change. CBS News reporting Biden considering blanket preemptive pardons for prominent critics of President-elect Trump in both parties to shield them from possible retribution or legal prosecution by the incoming administration. Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it. Pardon them all. Pardon every one of them. Pardon Fauci, pardon Schiff, pardon Milley, pardon Liz Cheney, pardon them all, Joe. Do it. Please. Because when you pardon them, you are officially acknowledging that they are criminally liable. Okay? Now, when Trump gets into office, sure, he could go ahead and they can have all these investigations, they can have all these committees, and they can drag us all through these investigative processes. And you guys know how tedious those are. The back and forth, the committee on the left, the committee on the right, the ranking member, blah, 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 blah. The testimonies, the under oath. You guys know. Nothing ever comes of those things. No one ever gets arrested. It's a show. It doesn't matter if Trump's in power. It doesn't matter if Patel is head of the FBI and Pam Bondi is the head of the DOJ, because these people are going to squirm out of it. They always do. So give them pardons. That's what I say. Give them all pardons. Because then you will expose the absolute rot at the core of your administration for the whole world to see. In fact, I'd rather see pardons. I'd rather see, as sick as it sounds, with the crimes that Fauci has committed against humanity, with the lies that have been spewed by Adam Schiff for years, the venom, the seething hatred, and Liz Cheney manipulating the January 6th committee. Do you ever think those people are going to get actually indicted or see any kind of justice? It will never happen. Ever. No matter who's in charge of the DOJ. So give them pardons. And make them all look guilty. Because a pardon, in my opinion, for those people, make them all look guilty. Oh man, we got more. Tim Walz. See, so as we, Brian, bring up the feed. We're not closing this segment here. As all these talks of pardons are happening, you got Kamala Harris and Tim Walz finally coming to the surface. They're finally showing their faces and doing interviews, trying to explain away the loss. Benny Johnson posting this. Tim Walz argues Americans elected Trump to reject inclusivity, saying he expected the country to choose a more positive path. Yeah? Oh, we certainly chose a positive path, Timmy.
Inclusive. I think we're going to have to understand what type of leadership do they want. We were pledging to be inclusive. We were pledging to bring people in. Donald Trump has said that isn't what he wants. And so if that's what America's leaning towards, I guess for me, it's to understand and learn more about America, because I thought that they were going to probably move towards a more positive message. I think people in pledging to be.
So he says we were pledging inclusivity.
To be inclusive, we were pledging to bring people in.
Dude, that whole inclusivity garbage, it means nothing. People rejected it. They rejected all the DEI stuff, and all the corporations are turning against it. Because it's all BS. You're not going to win on inclusivity, okay? You're not going to win on abortion. All right? Trump whooped your ass, buddy. It's because your messaging is... You don't even understand the American people, Timmy. We got some stuff on Fauci here we'll play in a minute here. But here's Kamala. 13 hours ago, Kamala calls on Democrats to think about how we're going to use the limited resources we have after they were resoundingly rejected. I don't know what's wrong with this camera operator, but they got to figure out what they're doing.
And so it's going to be an important year next year. And I know,
and of course, she brings her new her accent. She changes her accent for this audience.
It's going to be an important year next year. And I know that's part of what the conference has been about, to think about how we are going to use the limited resources we have to serve the greatest number of people and to lift folks up. And so I am here also to thank you in advance for that pledge that you have made and continue to make.
Okay, I can't even stand to watch this. It's like so shaky. But you get the point, right? Okay, so this was okay. She was speaking at the National Black Caucus of State Legislators Conference, bringing the fake accent. Okay, here's another clip from that.
I knew y'all were in town. I couldn't let it go without coming by to say hello and to say thank you to everyone here, all of these extraordinary leaders. I wanted to come by and say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah.
Wait. When she said happy Merry Christmas, how could she say that? Didn't she? Wasn't there a clip we played before where she's like, "How dare you say Merry Christmas?"
Whatever you may celebrate, but most important, let's make sure we celebrate each other. I knew y'all were.
I knew y'all were coming in. I knew it. So, I thought this clip was great. This is a throwback. J.B. Hassan Pfeffer says, if Joe Biden pardons Anthony Fauci, I'm going to lose my mind. Not only did I lose my mother to this BS, this is Fauci's second act. Don't forget what he did with AIDS. Now, during the pandemic, I interviewed Judy Mikovits, and I had no idea who Fauci was. You know, he came like this AIDS stuff happened when I was very young. Of course, I remember hearing about it and all the blankets across America thing, and it was very scary. People were freaking out about it. I had no idea of Fauci's role in it until the pandemic, and until I interviewed Judy Mikovits, doctor, which of course I had to delete that interview, or maybe it was deleted for me. I don't remember. But 30 years ago, Dr. Robert Wilner accused Fauci and others of genocide for their role in the HIV crisis.
By members, we're talking about probably the most horrible scandal and scam ever perpetrated, not only in the name of science, but in humanity and in all history. The great lie of Hitler. It's amazing. I think he would envy the job being done by members of the National Institutes of Health and even the media, especially in this country. And I will put the lie to the individuals of the NIH, particularly Gallo and Fauci and Hazeltine and Essex and the rest of these scoundrels of the worst order. Criminals guilty of genocide, without a doubt. I invite them to take me to court. I wish Burroughs Wellcome would take me to court because they have been putting out a killer drug knowingly.
So, I mean, this is 30 years ago. And Fauci's been at this for years. Here is Liz Churchill posting the Ultra MAGA Party video compilation of Dr. Fauci. It is a great compilation, and it really encapsulates, the other day when the pardons came up, we played the clip from Rand Paul. I went, and this weekend, tune into the Roger Stone show. I will be on Roger's show. We actually pre-taped it earlier today. And in that, I discussed some of these pardons. I discussed with what we talked about the other night with Rand Paul. And Rand Paul's, what he did to Fauci in Congress, basically giving him an opportunity to retract his statement for lying to Congress, is one thing. But the crimes go even further than what Rand Paul was able to reveal just in that exchange of Fauci lying to Congress. But here's Marjorie Taylor Greene taking it to the next level with this clip from the Ultra MAGA Party. Remember these dogs? Yeah.
Like 6 feet. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no answer.
Yes, it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as you don't know what you represent.
Oh,
But this, as director of the NIH, you did sign off on these so-called scientific experiments. And as a dog lover, I want to tell you this is disgusting and evil, what you signed off on, and these experiments that happened to beagles paid for by the American taxpayer. And I want you to know Americans don't pay their taxes for animals to be tortured like this. So the type of science that you are representing, Mr. Fauci, is abhorrent. You confess that you made up the COVID rules, including
I didn't hear what you
6
said.
feet social distancing and masking of children.
I never said I made anything up.
You admitted that you made it up. You made it up as
I
you
didn't say
went.
I made it up.
So are you saying this is fake news, Mr. Fauci?
I didn't say I made anything up.
What did you say?
I said that it is not based in science and it just appeared.
But this is science. And making up guidelines like 6 feet distancing and masking of children. Do you think that's appropriate? Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor, you're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes. No, I don't need your answer. That man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked and he belongs in prison.
Suspend.
Here you are without your mask, where you got to go and enjoy the game and sit right next to people not following the 6 feet of distancing, not wearing your mask, and everyone else was forced to stay home and stop enjoying life. And your science here, your science is displayed perfectly in this picture where children in school were put in plastic bubbles because of your science, your repulsive, evil science. And let's go back to your very own email. You said earlier you don't use email. Oh, you do. Right here. This is your own email where you said the typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus. I do not recommend that you wear a mask. This is your email. This is your own words. But yet children all over America were forced to wear masks. Healthy children forced to wear masks, muzzled in their schools. And then they were forced to learn from home because of your so-called science and your medical suggestions, while you and all your cronies get paid from Big Pharma. You know that what this committee should be doing? We should be recommending you to be prosecuted. We should be writing a criminal referral because you should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. You belong in prison, Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, he does belong in prison. Will it happen? I mean, if the pardon goes through, that ain't happening. Sure, would I like to see the DOJ indict him and drag him through the mud? Absolutely. But I guess I'm cynical. I don't have much faith that these people ever see justice. Maybe that will change. Maybe my cynicism will, be proved wrong. Like I said earlier, I don't think that they're going to see justice ever. And if these pardons happen, it's going to prove that these people are all guilty of something. And that's all we need is the proof of their guilt. Do they need to go all the way? I'd love to see it. Love to see it. So we'll have to wait and see. If actual pardons do happen, but I just, you know how I feel, guys. You know where I stand on this. It's really difficult to take all this in. So we'll have to wait and see. With Chris Cuomo here talking about the baseball bat and all, we'll see. But Patriots, this pardon scandal, what it does is it exposes the desperation of a regime in its final days. They're not just protecting Hunter, they're trying to shield their entire corrupt apparatus from justice. So the question I'm going to pose to you, will these preemptive pardons hold up when Trump returns to office? If the pardons don't happen, do you have faith in Pam Bondi and the new Department of Justice to actually deliver the justice that we all want to see? Do you have faith? I'm trying to be optimistic about this new administration because I want to see America thrive. I want to see justice prevail. But these people, these deep state actors, are so entrenched They have their friends and their judges and all the people they work with. But I want to hear from you. So share your thoughts in the comments. And while Biden's team scrambles for pardons, gear up with our new MAGAvengers collection at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com because the swamp's in panic mode and we're here for it.